darling, in time. To the sea, to the sea.
Yes, Sir Hairless here. Today we're back with Home Free and this is Unchained Melody. Our last Home Free members poll was asking what type of song we want to hear from Home Free next. Something a bit more upbeat and happy or something maybe slower, a bit more calm, serious. The result was a complete tie. Our last Home Free reaction was all about that bass, obviously a very fun and upbeat one. So today we're going for something with a slightly different feel to it. At least I think it will be, based on the original song. The original song, Unchained Melody. It was for the soundtrack of a 1955 film called Unchained.
I've hungered for your touch.
I didn't know this actually. I grew up with the Righteous Brothers version. I never considered that that wasn't the first version of it. And I was looking into it, and this song has been covered many times before even the Righteous Brothers, which was in 1965, so 10 years after the original. I feel like the Righteous Brothers version is the most famous version. That isn't Elvis Presley's version, of course. Maybe that's just to people of my generation or where I'm from, or both. Either way, that's the version that I'm very, very familiar with. It has this very climactic moment in it where we get this sudden switch to the head voice. I'd like to show more, but I can only show a few seconds of a clip at a time because of copyright. So let's see what Home Free do with this very, very nice song.
Oh, my love, my darling, I've hungered for your touch a long, lonely time.
Alright, I'll do a pause here after a nice little suspension. I'll get back to that in a bit. Because of how the song is, the structure, it will just keep on going. It's a very smooth flowing song and there aren't really many natural break points. I do have a fair few things I'd like to say from what we've heard so far, so if you don't want to hear my thoughts or my analysis, go to the timestamp. I wish I'd seen the film Unchained, because I know Home Free like their gimmicks and they're quite fun with their videos. This is obviously set in a prison, in a jail, and they're using black and white grainy film as though it is of that era in the 50s, but if they're making any direct references to the film, then I'm not gonna know them. So please do let me know in the comments if they do make any such references and what they are. So onto the music, they're in the same key as the Righteous Brothers version, which is C major. The original song is actually in a different key, which could be an indication that they're basing this on the Righteous Brothers version. C major is the most simple key in terms of the piano. It's made up of all the white notes. We get a lovely opening with just Tim. It's quite impactful. He gets some nice embellishments in there.
My darling.
Some nice little vocal riffs. It complements his vibrato as well. He's using vibrato here compared to later on, for example, when he chooses not to use it, such as here. Yeah, a great set as well in jail. Second time I've seen them do something prison related, the other one being Folsom Prison Blues. Please feel free to check out my reaction to that if you haven't already. Card will be up here. This is a functioning set though. We get the cell gate closing. Don't tell me that that's created by Adam and his mouth.
Hungered for your touch.
That sound effect, surely not. Then the other parts come in and it's a very interesting introduction that they have. It's this kind of chordal section.
Your touch alone.
Why this is interesting is because one of the most iconic elements of the Righteous Brothers song, it's the meter, how we think of it rhythmically. It's very clear and very obvious that we think of it in terms of threes. Cha-cha-cha-cha-cha-cha. That's the instrumental accompaniment, very, very clear. Each beat, boom, boom, is subdivided into the 3 smaller beats. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's very similar to what they did with All About That Bass, actually. I mentioned that in that video. So we do get that in Humphrey's version. So slow. But the first time the other parts come in, and Tim's entry as well, this isn't that clear. Well, it's not clear, actually, because they're not trying to make it clear. See how they're moving on those main, slower beats. Moving up, bum, bum, bum. So there's a bit of rhythmic ambiguity going on. This rhythmic ambiguity is lessened a bit by Adam. His percussive sounds here do kind of indicate the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Interestingly, the original song isn't so clear about this. In that same sense, I mean, we don't think clearly in terms of threes. The clip that I'm about to play from the original, we can see that it's pointing more towards us thinking in common time. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've got some cool rhythmic stuff going on, but overall, very clearly 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, just like the Righteous Brothers version. Alright, so where I paused, I said that we had just had a suspension. Listen for these notes. So a suspension is when a chord changes to another chord, so the notes change. But one note from the first chord doesn't change. This is the suspended note, and because it doesn't fit with the second chord, it causes tension. Then it moves to fit in with all the other notes. That is the resolution. So that is what a suspension is. They seem to be liking the suspensions in this from what we've seen so far. Here's another very obvious one. We've got Tim singing the bass part in between his lines with lyrics, and that really helps with the suspension. I know someone in the comments will say, no, it's Chance singing the bass. Yeah, it could be, but it would have to be multi-tracking, which we do actually have, and I'll get onto that in a bit. Tim taking over the bass part here, it fits the narrative better at this point specifically. Austin is in his falsetto very quietly. It's a really, really nice chord makeup. This is what we hear. In that final chord, Chance's line, which is this note here, it adds in another layer of dissonance even though the suspension has resolved. His note, you can see it changes the chord from a G major to a dominant 7th G chord. This just means that the next chord should be 5 notes down from G. And if we go 5 down from G, we get to C. And that is the chord that we get. And it's quite doo-wop-y. The lyrics here, time goes by so slowly. Adam's beatboxing, it reminds me of a ticking clock, but very, very quickly. So slowly in time. And then just before we paused, they all rise up together as a group on the word "still mine." That is a very, very iconic moment in the original song.
Still mine.
And the Righteous Brothers version.
Still mine.
And the Elvis version.
Still mine.
In every case of this song, at this point, everyone jumps up. Home Free still do this rise. I mean, they kind of have to look at all these performances that have done that. But it's done in a different way here. Still mine. I mean, Tim himself does do the jump up, but overall, he's lower set at this point with that bass register. Right, well, that was a fair bit to go over just from the first minute. We get a lot of good musical context from it though, so let's carry on. I need your love. I need your love. I need your love. Godspeed. Austin's line is nice.
to the sea, to the open arms of the sea. Yeah, on the riverside, wait for me, wait for me. I'll be coming home, wait for me. Oh, my love, my darling, I've hungered for your touch. Oh, lonely time, lonely time. Whoa, and time.
Yeah, there are many, many nice things here. It's one of those songs that is so iconic, so well known and well loved by most people, I think, where you don't want to play around with it too much. You don't want to start taking drastic measures and implementing some crazy, crazy things. I think they're doing a really, really good job of having different types of variety in there and keeping things very, very interesting and pleasant to listen to whilst maintaining the sentiment of the original song. One such example, just after we carried on I Need Your Love, they did some nice rhythmic adjustment. Why that sounds a bit funky is because we were thinking 1 2 3 1 2 3, but on I Need Your it's 1 2 1 2 1 2. So still overall 6 beats, but instead of separated into 2 groups of 3, it's 3 groups of 2.
Oh, I need your love.
Then after that they do the same thing, but this time without any lyrics. So they're going ooh or do.
Godspeed,
Which acts as a little transition piece, because then
your love to
their backing vocals are back to 1 2 3 1 2 3, and that then goes into another suspension to round off the phrase. Tim's voice, then when he comes in, he has that break in his voice, such a clean sound. 4. And the change between the notes as well, it's so in tune, it really does almost sound auto-tuned, doesn't it? Austin as well, he's just rocking the static note at the top, that G up there, which, you know, is kind of towards the top of the tenor range. In his chest voice, his full voice. On that second To Me, there's one part that ends on this note. That's this note here. What that does is it transitions a C chord into a dominant 7th chord of C. We spoke about the dominant 7th chord just earlier. And as we saw before, this means that our next chord after the dominant 7th should be 5 notes below. C, down 5. And what is the next chord? There it is. So we know that Home Free like funking up their chords a little bit, adding in some juicy notes here and there. Rob's part on that second To Me, very nice. He's going, finishing on this note. So even though that chord is C, we've got the one part that adds in this, and then Rob's part is singing this, and I think it replaces this part. So this is what we're left with. It's a very funked up version of the chord. After that, the first drastic structural change. Very nice arpeggiated figures.
The rivers flow to the sea, to the sea.
The voices do sound quite heavily treated, quite synthetic. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Of course, I don't dislike it. I think it's still great. I just wonder if I would have preferred maybe a bit of a more natural sound here. But they are obviously embracing technology. With the video, you know, they've got these cool effects, and they're not shying away from technology. They are using very obvious multi-tracking at times. Like in this section, Austin has the melody, but he also has the top da.
The sea, to the open arms of the sea.
So I guess it does kind of work in the whole technological sense. There are some nice homophonic moments as well, so when everyone starts singing the same words at the same time as each other. We got it on Yeah.
Yeah.
And later on Me, Oh, I think.
Wait for me. Oh.
And this is another song very much suited for Austin, now that we've passed over the melody from Tim to Austin. Let's find another example as well, I'm sure there'll be loads. It does seem that the Righteous Brothers version is the kind of loose basis of their cover. And in the introduction I played that climactic, very, very famous moment. So I'm guessing that will be another Austin moment. This did come out on Valentine's Day a couple of years ago, and it seems they like to use Austin on the Valentine's Day ones. We did see that in When a Man Loves a Woman. All right, let's carry on until the end.
And time goes by so slowly, and time can do so much. Are you still mine? I need you, I need your love. I need your love. Godspeed your love to me.
Nice one. Yeah, really nicely done. Nice arrangement, nice execution. Great choice of soloists as well, starting with Tim giving to Austin. I love Austin's choice of using a straight tone versus vibrato at different moments, just like Tim did. Here is the straight tone singing, so no wobbles.
And time
Such a smooth sound, especially with the swelling woos underneath in the accompaniment, and their constant movement creates dissonance and then moves away from the dissonance. It all works together really well.
and time can do so.
The straight tone from Austin there really eating into the dissonance. Growing into. Of course, it contrasts what he does immediately after that. High and vibrato compared to low and no vibrato, as we just saw. Alright, then we get that main moment. Go on, Austin. I like how Home Free have reused ideas we've heard or seen previously underneath Austin at this point. It just allows Austin to shine through even more. I mean, it would have been difficult to outshine him here, but there are no new crazy ideas coming through in the accompaniment. You know, something new that could take away some of your attention. What do we get in the accompaniment? The rhythmic change we saw earlier, instead of 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2, I need your. Another suspension we get after that, working very nicely with Austin's prolonged 2. And then we do get a new idea introduced at the end in Rob. It's a very obvious part to hear. So he sings that twice. He's providing some additional dissonance and melodic variance in terms of shape, especially against the classic descending doo-wop bass line that we're hearing underneath. Rob's little part repeats twice, so it's harmonically static, but the melodic shape is what's different about it. Starting and finishing on the same note, but you know, he goes down and up in the middle and then back. And then finally the ending, a nice ending. We get a semi-scrunchy chord, then a lone Austin. And then a standard root chord, a C chord, with that C right at the bottom. We've seen Home Free end like this before, and of course they have to include the supertonic note, which is one note above the C. So we also hear it's in there very quietly. Well, there we go, Home Free Unchained Melody. To be truthful, I had forgotten that this was a Valentine's Day one. I was looking at my list of Home Free songs and I saw this and it suited the kind of calmer feel I was after and I thought, let's just go for it. Yeah, that is a nice one. So because the members poll was a tie, I think our next Home Free reaction will be a more fun, upbeat one. So let me know in the comments what you'd like to see. As always, thank you very much for watching and would appreciate a like and subscribe. If you enjoy my content, want to support me, join the community and vote on future polls, you can do so by joining the YouTube membership or Patreon linked below, and I will see you next time.